Hi everybody and welcome to Youth Pledge for Employers. Today we are really happy to be talking to Ryan Luke from Heart of Suffolk Distillery. Hi Ryan, lovely to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
So Ryan, first of all, tell us a bit about your role and Heart of Suffolk Distillery.
So the business itself was started up around 4 and a bit years ago. So in February 2018, my parents decided that it was a good sort of climate for a gin distillery at the time, as gin was, and it still is, taking off as quite a big sort of global product that people like. So mum and dad set that up and then did about 4 years running it, 2 of which were obviously during COVID times. Then as part of me getting involved, that come from mum and dad wanting the business to be driven even more further forwards. So I've come in as the managing director, and my sort of purview of what I focus on is building on the foundations that mum and dad have already laid and got fairly cemented in. And then my idea is now to bring it to that next level. So it's about getting the name out there a bit more, bringing the brand, making the brand a little bit bigger, and sort of expanding on what we've already got.
That sounds brilliant. So as a managing director of a small sort of independent company, what sort of things do you do in your day-to-day life?
Yeah, a bit of everything, to be 100% honest. It's about you have to be, especially in a small business, you have to be very flexible, and you have to be very willing to do a lot of things that maybe you're not quite naturally comfortable with, but you learn to be quite comfortable with them. So my days can vary from sitting in front of a laptop all day, responding to an array of emails that I've got in. It could be going out and visiting new customers and new clients who want to buy our product or want to have our product. It could be meeting different venues who want to collaborate together, and that collaboration could take the form of, they might want a specific gin for them. They might want there might be a holiday let that want to showcase Suffolk local products, or have us in to do a gin tasting evening or afternoon. And then fundamentally, I guess what is the sort of core of my role that continues is the actual production side of things. So always ticking along in the background is that production of gin, that production of what we sort of have basically as our product. And that, for us at least, that is every step of the way. So we go from the distillation, which takes 7 hours. We then have to leave it for a week, but then we're bottling it, we're labeling it, we hand sign every label. And when we're talking 70 bottles out of a batch, it's a lot of hand signing to do. And then ultimately, my sort of big day-to-day role that sort of is always there as well is the actual selling of the product. It could be to customers that come into the shop, people who email us, people who phone us, or it could be to larger, more sort of like farm shop side of things as well.
So that's really interesting. I mean, that's really broad, isn't it? All those different things that you do. And out of those different aspects, like the manufacturing, the selling, the collaboration, the retail, the admin side, and I'm guessing the finances too. Which bit of that do you find most challenging, and why?
Most challenging, I find sometimes it varies, to be 100% honest. We do a lot of different amounts. The one that I probably enjoy most, if I go for that first, is the going out and about and seeing people. I really enjoy that. I like the opportunity to get to go different places, and I like the opportunity to be able to meet different people and see completely different settings. Probably there's not one that's difficult. What probably is difficult, or my least favorite, for want of a better phrase, is probably the management of all of them alongside each other. So it's not that there's one in particular that's my least favorite. There is some that at certain times are the most inconvenient. So for example, distilling, we have to be present for 7 hours. So the day is structured around that. However, days don't always go as planned. So when it comes to something like that, you're tied in. So you have to be very clever with time management and very clever with using sort of every possible moment. If there's not really a moment where it's quiet, you fill your time with something else, because actually you don't know, that's not guaranteed the next time. So I reckon it's more a case of that because I do enjoy each aspect of it. It's just about how the roles marry up next to each other and how they sort of fit alongside each other.
I think that balancing of workloads, whatever your job, is always really challenging, but when they're so diverse, I bet that's especially so.
Yeah.
I know that you had said to me before that you've got a couple of people who are employed within your organisation as well. What sort of roles do they do?
So we've got 2 part-time distillery assistants with their roles. Again, they're quite varied in what they do. We try and have them involved in all aspects of the business as much as possible, because one of the things that both of them wanted out of it was actually the full understanding of how the business works. We have them, their fundamental job at the minute is the actual shop. So they have set days where they're actually running the shop and making sure that customers have a good experience that come in and see them. We also use both of them at our events and shows. So when we're going to places like the Suffolk Show, when we're going to Berry Farmers Market, things along those lines, we have them, and they're becoming regular faces that people recognise. But then they're also involved in the production side of things as well. So we have them doing a lot of bottling of our products. They label some of the smaller ones, and they make sure that what we've got and what we sell, especially the stuff we make up ourselves, they make sure we're not running out of that. They make sure that we're keeping always ahead. And then as part of it, both of them are requested to be involved in the social media side of things as well. So they've got varying different levels of expertise in different areas. So they wanted to sort of showcase some of what we do through their social media skills as well. So some of our sort of like posts and stories and stuff along those lines is stuff that they've provided us or they've produced for us that we're quite proud to represent as them being part of us as well.
Gosh, that sounds fantastic. And it's really interesting how the curation of digital media is such an important aspect of sort of so many different businesses at the moment. Thinking about those sort of transferable skills that you reflected on earlier, tell us a bit about your journey into becoming MD for Heart of Suffolk.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a all over one really. When I was younger, so when I started out, first of all, I've always been sort of I initially was always customer facing jobs. So it started out little things along the lines of working in a hairdresser's on a Saturday, then becoming a waiter, then becoming a sort of room and general manager of different restaurants and hotels, which I really enjoyed. And that got me through university, and it got me through my teenage years. And that was something that I sort of really enjoyed doing. I then decided to sort of use those people skills, effectively the working under pressure skills, to go into teaching and going into the education setting. So in 2016, I became a qualified teacher, and then again moved my way up in that as well to become a head of year. After my first year of teaching, I became a head of year, which I did for 5 years as well. So that again, that responsibility for people, the time management skills side of it, and the actual forward face and dealing with the members of the public, dealing with people, I've always been quite passionate about that. So when the opportunity came in 2022, so the beginning of this year, to come in and take over, push the distillery forwards, sort of a combination of the skills that I'd gathered from hospitality, from those customer facing roles, and the skills that I'd learned from the pressures of education setting, sort of made it sort of a nice combination that actually I did have that skill set that I could use.
Well, that's really interesting, and I think it's really it's been really interesting to hear people talking about their journeys, because it seems to me that often there is no one right way into anything.
No.
Actually, so much seems to be about actually making the best of the jobs that you're in.
Yeah.
In terms of what you're doing. What do you feel will kind of be the next sort of challenge for the business, and how will you go about, from a skills perspective, making sure that you're ready to meet it?
So our next big challenge is going to be the scaling up of it. We know that we have the passion for it. We know that we have the drive for it. But we also know at the same time that it's not just a simple click of the fingers and then it's done. We know that actually that the foundations are there, but they need to be really embedded. If they're not, if you're trying to build something that hasn't got a strong foundations, absolutely, it won't last. It won't be sustainable. So it's about getting that judgment call right between actually when is the right time to make that next step up. And that has to be, like I say, built on a strong foundation, because if it isn't, you end up in some quite trouble quite quickly. So really it's for us is about knowing when we're ready to take that next big step. But as part of that, there is also no definitive right time. There is always an element of gamble in it. So it's about knowing when actually the cost and the risk is worth that next big step for us. And that'll be us. And what we're also quite passionate about is maintaining our family aspect to it. It's me, mum and dad that are the core of the business. And even the 2 people that we have work for us, they're local, they're from around here. They know they know of, where the same areas that we know of. They're very passionate about the fact that it's family business as well, and they've been incorporated into it in that way. And we're very proud to say they're part of our team. But the risk is always there that as you start to get a little bit bigger, that part of it might get lost. So it's about not losing sort of who we are on the foundation that we've got, because actually that's what's made us be able to get to this point in the first place.
With that sort of entrepreneurship piece, I think there's some really interesting reflections there. What do you feel, if you had to kind of pick sort of 3 important skills for entrepreneurs, what do you think that would be?
There's got to be a passion for what you're doing. I think number one, if you don't enjoy what you do and if you're not passionate about what you do, I think you'll always, no matter how good you are, I think you'll always struggle to really fully invest in it and get completely behind it. It's got to be time management. It's got to be there as well. If you don't keep an eye on that, and if you aren't sensible with it, and if you let yourself get bogged down, if you let yourself fall behind, that's when the problems really start to come through. And there's got to be an element of risk taking. Whilst they can be calculated risks and whilst they can be sensible risks, there is always an element of risk taking. And actually it's knowing that I've tried it. Yes, that one worked. That was fantastic. Oh, I've tried this. It's not worked. Okay. It's not necessarily that was wrong. There could be a myriad of reasons why that didn't work. And it's probably about really understanding that actually you can put a lot of work into it, but it's about being passionate about it, being able to manage your time sensibly and taking the right risks at the right time.
That was really comprehensive, thank you. Just finally, Ryan, I'd just like to say to you, if you had to go back and give your younger self one piece of advice about careers, what do you think that would be?
That's a little bit of a tough one. I'd say probably get your head down fairly early on, and actually make sure what I've found in all of my careers, when I was in hospitality, when I was in education, and now that I've moved into the distillery, it is about enjoying what I do. I find myself enjoying my job, and as a result of enjoying my job, when things do go slightly wrong, or when you might not have as successful a show, for example, as you'd like to do, I find that if I enjoy my job, it makes life a lot easier. So it's about finding something that you enjoy doing, which is opened up to you by getting your head down and actually really focusing on what is available in front of you. And especially with the great sort of expanding nature of local businesses, there is always quite a lot actually on your doorstep that is available for you if you just look round and sort of get your head around and work towards it.
That is absolutely brilliant. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It's just been a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you for talking to me.